Hi everyone, welcome to the Fight with Teddy Atlas. I'm Teddy Atlas III, and joined as always by Boxing Hall of Famer, my main man, the live stream extraordinaire, working doctor hours tonight, round the clock. My buddy, Teddy Atlas. How you doing, bud?
Good, bud, good. We're going to need some of this stuff here. I got some of it in my system right here. Laraca coffee, because we are burning the midnight oil. It's 12:30. It might even be past. Hold on. Yeah, it's a little past 12:30, past midnight. You're on the East Coast, so you're a little better. You're
I'm on the West Coast. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I told you I'm tired. I don't know East from West right now, but past midnight, 12:30, and Final Four. Half of the Final Four is in. Half. Got in there. Illinois and Arizona, and without further ado, I'm going to move it in your hands. We're going to move forward because speaking of the Final Four, Itauma, he moved on. Arizona moved on. Illinois moved on. Itauma moved on. He was not eliminated. Not that we thought he was going to be, but let's go.
I won't waste any time. We'll get right into it. Let's get it going. We did a double live stream tonight, as you said. We're recording this after the Fundora Thurman fight, but before that, we did a live stream for members only over at the ropes, TeddyAtlasBoxing.com. And that was, as you just touched on, that's the phenom everybody's talking about, the heavyweight prospect, only 21 years old still. We've been talking about him on this show for quite some time. At least 2 years, when he was threatening to break maybe Mike Tyson's record as the youngest heavyweight champion. He was 19 at that time. And that's Moses Itauma. Moses Itauma took on Jermaine Franklin. This was supposed to be a litmus test. This was a fight where we're supposed to find out exactly what is Itauma. Is he what you've been saying he is? Does he have all the goods? Franklin, yes, he's 32 years of age. He did not look too pretty once he took that shirt off. He was at his highest weight of his career, 258 pounds. We'll get more into that. Don't think it helped him. But he's a guy who's gone the distance every time he stepped up in competition, but fell short. He went the distance versus Dillian White, and he went the distance versus Anthony Joshua a few years ago. He couldn't do that in this one. Itauma, 5th round KO, beautifully placed uppercut. Just want to get your take and get right into it. Itauma versus Franklin.
Yeah, look, I'll pick up where you touched on. I was very disappointed in this biggest fight in Franklin's career. I mean, the Joshua fight before that was the biggest fight in his career, but this is, a fight that says, where does he go now? Does he go on as just a stepping stone for other fighters that want to take that next step? Or does he get in there with, where he's thought of as one of the players, the real players in the heavyweight division where you still can make a lot of money? And with that kind of importance on the line for Franklin, the least I would have expected was for him to come in shape. And he didn't. His body looked terrible. Really, he did. He looked terrible. And he's game. He showed heart. But he didn't show like he was prepared from the physical standpoint. And
I don't want to cut you off, bud, but that's such a great point. I just want to add to that. This fight was initially supposed to take place on January 24th. Do you think that he just was ready too early and then couldn't mentally get ready? Or we had a great comment from one of our viewers over at Ropes members asking, was it purposely done by any chance? Not that I think that was the right move, but to have a little extra buffer and bulk against a big puncher in Itauma.
yeah, I don't think it was for that, and I get it. I have seen guys bulk up when they're fighting bigger guys, especially light heavyweights, whether it's Michael Spinks, when he moved up to fight Larry Holmes, there's plenty of guys that when they did move up to fight bigger guys, they put bulk on thinking it would help them. But it was positive bulk. This was not positive bulk. It was muscle. This was not muscle. This looked more like lazy, undisciplined, unprepared. Almost like if you want to go down that road, and I have no proof of this, but almost like an excuse. Like you're giving yourself an excuse to not win. Like, you're gonna, you're going up against his prodigy, against his phenom, and you're gonna give yourself an excuse. He wasn't in shape. I can't see it as being purposeful any other reason other than, again, he didn't prepare to his fullest. But I will say this, and I'm glad you brought that up because that is a possible X factor in this fight, where the fight was postponed from its original date. Maybe that threw a monkey wrench into their training. I wasn't there. I don't pretend to be there. If I was, I tell you, I don't have any privileged information as to where he was at when the fight was initially postponed. But I have been down that road. I have seen fighters where they were in good shape, they were ready to go. The fight gets postponed and it screws them up. They get screwed up and they don't get back on track. And they wind up coming into the fight for the new date not the way they were prepared originally when it looked like they were on the right trajectory to have the best chance to win. So maybe when the fight got postponed, it really did screw them up and everything went awry. Whatever the reason, there's no excuses in this business, none. He got in the ring heavy and, it didn't help him. I didn't win this one. I had the over. I want to be fully, really, I want to be fully
over 5.5 rounds.
Yeah, I had the over 5. Now listen, again, this doesn't help us, but there were people on the ropes, people that watched the live stream with us that won. Why? Because they got 4.5. Yeah, they got 4.5, so they won.
And they won by 3 seconds.
They won by 3 seconds. We had 5.5. So, at the end of the day, I thought he had a chance to go. I stand by that. He did. He had a chance. He didn't. That's all that matters. But I thought that he was experienced at a higher level. He technically is solid. And he doesn't take a lot of chances. And since he doesn't take a lot of chances, he's very deliberate about his approach. He wouldn't get reckless. He wouldn't walk into something. And being technically solid, defensively pretty good. Moves his head, blocks, got good eyes. I thought he'd have a chance to last past 5.5. I don't think coming in heavy helped him. But at the end of the day, he didn't get there. Now, give credit. I want to say this about Itauma because my son opened the door for this. He mentioned the word Mike Tyson because when he was coming up, there was a chance he might have an opportunity to break Tyson's record to be the youngest heavyweight champ ever. Tyson broke Floyd Patterson's record, who also was managed by, of course, Tyson's manager and father figure, Cus D'Amato, and my mentor. But that didn't happen. But where there is a reason to mention both their names in the same sentence is the combination of speed and power. Very rare. Yeah, you see Ernie Shavers, you see George Foreman, you see these great punchers. You see Muhammad Ali, Foreman, Shavers, those guys, power, but not speed. Muhammad Ali, speed, but underrated with power, I'll be honest. Later on when he sat down and he had to punch, he could punch pretty good, but not known for power. But Tyson, one of the greatest combinations ever of a heavyweight champion with speed and power. Itauma makes you think about that. That's the first heavyweight that I can think of that actually matches that kind of combination of speed and power. The difference is how he does it. Tyson did it in a very one-dimensional, aggressive way, coming forward, making you miss, making you pay. Itauma, he's got a lot of options. He's very dimensional. I mean, he could box, he could set traps, he could counterpunch. You know, he could fight inside when he has to. You know, he could do a lot of different things. And at the end of the day, he's got good intellect. He's got good technique. Ben Davidson, the rest of them are doing a good job with him. And he showed me that. He showed me that good technique, that good intellect, because the way he ended this fight, he landed a good left hand early in the fight. He's a southpaw. That's a big difference with Tyson too. He's not orthodox. He's a southpaw. But he landed a good left hand. And Franklin, that's one of the reasons why I thought Franklin had a chance to go rounds, by the way. He has a pretty good chin. And he took the left hand. He took it well. But this punch he never saw. And the way this punch was landed was the execution, the delivery system of it was the most impressive part about it. What he did, if you watch the replay, Ben maybe will get it up there for you, but if you watch the replay, he hurts him on top of the head with a left hand. He throws a couple jabs, then he hurts him on top of the head with the left hand, and he staggered him a little bit. And when he staggered, he kind of stumbled forward a little bit. And rather than allowing Franklin to smother him, he took a little step back. Very smart. And definitely taught. Took a little bit of a step back, giving him room to fall in where he could throw that vicious, bad intention left uppercut and landed flush and he never saw it. But again, if he doesn't take that step back, what happens is Franklin falls in and probably survives because he smothers the punch. But no. That little step back, bop, gave him room to throw, and the night was over. So I'm very impressed with power. I'm very impressed with speed. And I'm very impressed with intellect and good technique. And that's it. I want to keep it short and sweet. He kept it short and sweet. A little shorter than I wanted him to. I would have appreciated one more round from him. But, okay.
Yeah, and you called it on the ropes. The punch you were calling for, or the punch you said that Franklin should be looking out for, was that uppercut that did it in the end. And it seemed like Frank Warren was calling for it too. When he got in the ring, he was telling Davidson, I told you use the uppercut. Before we move on from this, Bud, there's so much hype and so much excitement around Itauma. Rightfully so. I just want to hear from you. I think this kid's ready now. I know this was a step up, and he just passed it with flying colors. I think he could entertain, I know this sounds crazy, the thought at 21 years of age, fighting Usyk pretty soon. But I'd like to see one more, and I'd like to see him, and I don't think he would be in too deep or too early. I want to see him against the winner of Wardley versus Dubois. I just want to hear your take and your thought on that. Is he ready for that? Does he need a few more tune-ups similar to today first?
I think that the legendary promoter Frank Warren, he's a Hall of Famer and one of the greatest promoters ever from the UK. He's up there with Mickey Duff. He's up there, of course, Eddie Hearn is great, and his father, Eddie Hearn's father. So I think he's doing the right job. I felt before this fight, you can't go crazy for Usyk and those guys yet. He's so talented, you never know. But not yet. But I thought he needed a little more seasoning. You know, it's kind of like a meal that is cooking. Do you take it out too soon? You take it out too soon, you ruin the damn thing. You do, you ruin it. You say, you should have let it cook a little longer. And a little more seasoning. I think that going into this fight, that Itauma needed more seasoning. I think he got a little. I think that Warren knows what he needs. He's trying to give it to him. And he got what they wanted. He got a chance to get a little more mature. He got a chance to ask himself some questions, to get some answers. as far as can I depend on myself when things get a little tricky where I got to figure things out. One thing that Franklin did well, his defense was good for those first 4 rounds, whatever that was, where he was moving his head. Franklin was showing real good vision and real good ability to ride with shots, with blocking, seeing the shots, avoiding the shots. And it kind of forced Itauma to think, to grow, to use feints more, to go to the body a little more. When the guy's head's moving, you don't chase the head, you go to the body. Slow the upper body down, then you go to the head. So it forced him into those dimensions of thinking. That comes with experience. So that was good. I think he needs a little more. I think he needs at least one more. One more where it goes a little deeper. I know it gets tricky. Yeah, you don't want to get greedy. You want to put him in at the right time, but you don't want to put a guy in again. You don't want to take it out of the oven too soon and ruin a good meal. You don't want to put him in too soon. I think one more. I think if I talked, I'm friends with him. But if I talk to Frank Warren, I guarantee he'd probably say, Teddy, I agree, 100%. Let him get one more with a guy that instead of going 4 rounds, maybe he forces him into 7, 8 rounds. The bottom line is that he takes him to a little deeper waters mentally and physically, where he makes him, he gets questions asked to him that haven't fully been asked yet. Can you handle this? Can you figure this out? Can you depend on yourself when it goes a little deeper, when it's not too easy, when you're missing punches, and maybe you get hit a couple counters, and you got to take inventory of that. I think a little more. A guy that stretches them out. The greatest would be if he stretched them out for 10 rounds. Obviously, you got to win. But if he stretched them out for 10. But again, a guy that makes him put in the work in those areas. And then after that, if I see that, and I see with that, like I saw here, that he did get some questions answered, and in going more rounds, he'll get more questions answered, I say, okay, we're ready.
No, that makes so much sense. I loved hearing that take and a little insight, right, of not just a trainer's hat, but a managerial role that way of navigating and developing a top prospect. I'll finish with this, Bud, and I said this during the live stream, and I want to hear your thought on it, but I think, and we just mentioned him several times, the promoter, Frank Warren, I said it on the ropes, I think this was the most important fight of Frank Warren's career. And the reason I said that was because of the current landscape in boxing. There is a lawsuit going on. Frank Warren is suing Zuffa Boxing TKO. And right now, we know Zuffa is the new thing. They have a lot of money. They're going to be signing a lot of fighters. But the crown jewel of boxing is the heavyweights. And when they started, the Saudis did with their first fight in Saudi Arabia, that was with who? The crown jewel at the time, in their eyes, Tyson Fury. Well, if there's going to be the future of what we're talking about and what this kid may be and showed today, the crown jewel of boxing is still in Frank Warren's hand. I just want to hear he's cornering the heavyweight market. Dubois, Wardley, I'm not talking Usyk, right? And Joshua, the older guard. And even guys, I'm not disrespecting Agit Kabayel. He needs to be talked about, but he's in his 30s. When we talk about the future and the guys in the 20s, this is it. I just want to hear your take with that. And does that stunt Zuffa for the future if you don't have the heavyweight division under control?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think it's an astute question, and I don't. Frank Warren is, again, I said it earlier, he's a Hall of Fame promoter. He's had so many big fights, in his career, and he's got so many still to go, obviously, but so. I can't say the biggest fight of his career, but I'll say this, because he's had so many of them. But I will say this to that point. This fight was important for his relevancy, for him to stay in that position, to stay relevant. I mean, look, a Hall of Fame guy is always going to be relevant. But then again, Don King ain't. Don King ain't no more. He got nobody. He ain't no more. I know Bob Arum's still around. He's 95, whatever. I know he's still around. He's got Top Rank, and they're looking for a home. Maybe they're going to go back to ESPN. Maybe not.
They found their home. They signed at the Zone.
Yeah, so all right. So they're back. They're back in business. But to your point, you're not, he's a legendary guy, Arum, but without a heavyweight, you're not hearing him, in the top of boxing news. The heavyweights is where the attention goes. That's where the eyeballs go. That's where the money goes. It's always been said, always, that the head of the snake in boxing is the heavyweight division. As the heavyweight division goes, boxing goes. When Ali was there, boxing was hot. When Tyson came, boxing was hot. When you didn't have a heavyweight of that renowned, of that, level of respect, boxing wasn't as relevant. And same thing with a promoter. Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn, they went through a lot of different change in their boxing lives in the last 3 years. Turkey Al-Sheikh came on the scene and just threw ridiculous money into the game. And he needed promoters. He needed top promoters. And those are the guys that he went and he gravitated towards. Also Spencer Brown with Fury. And that's who he gravitated towards. And they produced. They put the fights on with that money behind them. That money's gone. Turkey Al-Sheikh has decided, to go in the direction he's gone. And he probably always decided to go that way. Let's be honest. We don't BS here. He always intended to use them. Nothing bad. They got paid very well. But to use them to introduce himself into the sport, to learn what he had to learn, to get his feet under him, to get a toehold in his sport. And then he was going to go and he was going to build his own thing. He was going to do what he wanted to do and put his own flag in the ground. And he decided to do it by creating his own league with Dana White, who he liked the formula that he had with the UFC, the brand that he built with the UFC, the way he did it. And he went over there and he planted his flag there. After 3 years of, going forward with these promoters and getting a reputation and getting a lay of the land. And that's what he did. That's exactly what he did. And a lot of people thought Warren and Eddie are going to be in trouble now, because they were getting all this money. No, they weren't. They're going to keep doing what they do. There's going to be a little bit of a civil war going on. There's no doubt about it. Where you're going to have those guys now that are going to entrench themselves. They've always been there. Now they don't have that money. You got this guy, Turkey Al-Sheikh, with all the money, with Dana White over here, trying to take over. I think that's not too powerful a word. I think that's fair. Trying to take over for the point that they can. And then you got the Warrens, like I said, and the Eddie Hearn, and of course Arum, De La Hoya is still around. You got them, and they're going to trench in, and there's going to be a battle going on. But to your point, Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn, a lot of people did think, you're not gonna hear about these guys so much anymore. A lot of their bluster is going to be taken away. And then you got a heavyweight like this. Again, the heavyweights, they run boxing when they're good. When they're good, they run boxing. That is the, that is the light when a restaurant opens up and there's a big light in the sky that tells you, come here, come here, come to this restaurant. That is the light. The heavyweight says, come here, come to this place. Right now, to my son's point, Frank Warren has that light. Yeah, he is back there, relevant. And I know Frank would say, Teddy, I was always relevant. I'm Frank Warren. I get it, Frank, yes. But now, having that heavyweight, having Wardley, having those guys, yeah, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. The road still got to go through the UK. Even though the Saudi money and everything and Zuffa and all, the road still has to go through there because you got the big guy. You got the big guys. And when you got the big guys, people are going to pay attention.
Absolutely. I'm paying attention, and I can't wait to see what's next for Moses Itauma. And that was an interesting take by you. It's interesting times in boxing, and who more than an interesting prospect to spend the thorough time we just did on that one for the Itauma Franklin fight. So I loved it, bud. I want to keep it moving. Before we move on to a different card, real quick on that card, just want to touch and give you the opportunity to chime in. Willie Hutchinson, light heavyweight, defeated Ezra Taylor. And that was a winning pick over at the ropes. We're going to get that report up here for everybody to see. You had Hutchinson plus 130 to win by decision. You also had the fight, yes, it will go the distance, minus 200. So 2 for 2 on that fight. Hutchinson is a fun guy to watch, but he's got a little mouth after the fight, and he's entertaining watching him. Very awkward style to fight. I think the experience of him showed in the lack of that with Ezra Taylor. A little punch and clutch, but again, found ways, was in complete control. He coasted, unanimous decision win. Just want to hear your take. You nailed it before the fight. Your report told us exactly what it was going to say. But if anything else to add after watching it.
Listen, I picked him. Yeah, this one, I'll just get right to it. I picked Hutchinson. Taylor's fundamentally better. Technically, conventionally, standardly, whatever you want to call it. But from a technical standpoint, he does things by the book. Hutchinson doesn't. He does things like not with the pure talent of the guy I'm about to mention, but a little bit like a Roy Jones, where, he goes to a beat of his own drummer. He doesn't do things by boxing 101 book. He pulls back, he drops his hands, he pulls, he goes straight back, he comes in, he goes out, but he's got quick hands, he's got experience at a higher level, and he's got talent. Taylor, again, fundamentally a good, solid, fundamental fighter. The reason I went against Taylor was he didn't have the experience, and I didn't think I thought he was going to be outspeeded, and he was. Outquicked, he was. But I didn't think that. I thought his conventional approach, the boxing 101 approach, would actually not serve him with a guy so unconventional, so awkward, so unpredictable, that Hutchinson would just be one step ahead of him. And you want to hear the funny thing? The strengths of Hutchinson are the things that eventually will get him beat. He has lost before, but they're the things that will, down the road, I think he's in a good place of confidence now, but will get him beat. And that's where he just breaks all the rules, where he'll pull back, he'll drop his hands, he'll jump in, he'll lunge. Somebody will time him. Somebody will catch him going back. Those are the things that eventually, when he does have another bad day, that'll be part of that bad day. But it's also the things that are his strength right now, where he is doing these things you don't expect, things you're not prepared for, things that are, not in the boxing 101 book. things that are instinctive, things that are, controlled chaos. Where, he's there, wow, bop, bop, he's there, wow, bop, bop, bop. And he's got his hands down. But I'd give him credit for this. He had great eyes. My God, his eyes they were like infrared. He was seeing everything. He was eluding everything. Yeah, he was doing it with his hands down. But he was doing it perfect. I mean, really perfect. Making a miss and then pot-shotting in between. He is an awkward... He reminds me of the guy overseas there that just also beat a guy who was better technically. Real solid guy. Josh, he just won the title.
Yeah, Josh Kelly versus Bakram Mutrazayev.
Perfect. Remind me of him. Josh Kelly just won a fight. He was an underdog in that fight. He just won a fight because of exactly what I said. His opponent was solid. He was aggressive. He did everything technically right. But Josh Kelly was faster. He was unpredictable. He was unorthodox. He was awkward. And that won the day for him. He kept him off balance. He disrupted his rhythm. Those guys, I tell you, unless you're very disciplined, really, really got to be disciplined and experienced. And Taylor's not experienced enough. And he wasn't able to handle that style. This was a perfect time to say styles matter. Styles make fights. And that style really made that fight.
No, you nailed it. You nailed it before. You nailed it again. And I'm with you. Willie Hutchinson, tough style. Look forward to watching him see what's next in the 175-pound weight class from the light heavyweights. Next for us, bud, we're going to keep it moving. Before we do, quick pause. Want to thank one of our sponsors today, Athletic Greens. Athletic Greens, the all-in-one daily drink to support better health and peak performance. These guys spent 10 plus years with top nutritionists and doctors to create this formula. It's made from 75 whole food sourced ingredients. It has vitamins, minerals, prebiotics, probiotics, and antioxidants. This is like an insurance policy for your body's health. Athletic Greens is giving our listeners 3 travel packs for free and a free welcome kit including vitamin D3 and K2 and AG1 travel packs when you first subscribe. So whether you're looking to boost your energy levels, support your immune system, or address gut health, Athletic Greens is the way to go. Simply visit athleticgreens.com/atlas. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/atlas.
Let me tell you right now. Look, I need coffee. I got Laraca coffee. It tastes good, and of course, it does what coffee does. It gives you that boost. And of course, right here. If you don't fit in, well, my son will tell you, get out of here. F off. But when you're up at, right now, what time is it? All right, it's 10 minutes after 1 in the morning. And we've been doing this for 5 hours now. We did live streams. We did all that stuff. You better have good nutriment in you. You better have good stuff in you. For 2 reasons. 1, physically. And 2, mentally. Because when you know you got good stuff in you, you got more confidence. You know that you can keep going. All right, let's go. Keep going. Keep going. Let's keep going.
With that being said, bud, let's get into the second live stream of the night. This live stream was here at our YouTube channel, The Fight with Teddy Atlas, for all subscribers. And that was the WBC 154-pound champ, the tallest champion in all of boxing, active champion, Sebastian Fundora at 6'6", 154 pounds, defended his title in an impressive performance versus former world champion, welterweight champion, Keith one-time Thurman. And in the lead up to this fight, bud, there was a lot of talk about Thurman's inactivity, Thurman's injuries, and then the size difference. Could Thurman use angles and movement to get Fundora's feet crossed up or off balance and then look to be effective in spots, maybe with the left hook? He tried. Keith Thurman came there to win. He gave it his all, but in the end, Fundora was too much. The punches, the leverage, the volume, you name it. He gets the stoppage. A lot of people out there are not thrilled with the stoppage. Referee Taylor stopped the fight. I thought it was a little premature, especially when you're talking about a former world champion in Keith Thurman. You give him a little more opportunity. but where the fight was leading, the way it felt like the stoppage was coming and probably inevitable. In the end, again, very impressive performance by Fundora. Just want to get into it, hear your take.
Yeah, listen, I'm not gonna mince my words. I never do. But I'm a little caught in a little quandary here. I never like to sit in the middle of the fence. That's never a comfortable place for me. I don't think it should be comfortable for anyone because it freaking hurts your backside. But I didn't love the stoppage with the referee. I thought the referee, look, he was compassionate. He did the right thing, right? He protected the fighter, but he protected himself a little bit too because it was looking a little bit bad there. But I wasn't thrilled with the referee stopping it, I'll tell you right now. But it's awful hard to argue strongly against it because he was getting busted up. It was a whitewash. It was one-way traffic. It didn't look like he had answers. He had the right idea, but it wasn't being executed. The idea was to move, use his athleticism, move side to side, keep Fundora moving his feet, switching his stances, and then get in, jump in, move in, close in real quick and attack when Fundora wasn't ready to punch. It looked like that was the only strategy that made sense. It looked like his people at least had him prepared for a strategy. It's not like we see too many of these guys that they come in as underdogs and they have no strategy. You're like, what the frick were they thinking? How did they think they were going to get out of here with a win? They didn't have any freaking clue to what they needed to do. He did have a clue. He couldn't do it. So at the end of the day, yeah, I didn't love the stoppage, but I saw the woman doctor come in there, and I knew what that meant. The writing was on the wall. She was going to go in there at the end of the round. She was going to go in there. She was going to stop it. And I think that the ref knew that too. And he said, you know what, I'll stop it. I'll stop it before the doctor does, because maybe it looks like I should do that. But she was going to stop it anyway. Maybe the corner would have stopped it too. Who knows? But I'll tell you this. A lot of times you see this false bravado. You see a fighter where he's completely being dominated and he will put on a sort of very hard to believe argument, a very weak argument. Like you don't really believe it. Like, oh, don't stop it. Like I want to go on. When the ship has sailed already in his belief that he can win the fight, and he doesn't really want to go on, and he'll put forward again a little bit of a fake argument like he wants to go on. There was nothing fake about this argument. Keith Thurman wanted to go on. The guy did everything. He went out on his shield. He did he behaved like a champ. He did everything. He really wanted to go on. But he wasn't going to. At the end of the day, I hate to say this because you never know. Could always land that shot, blah, 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 blah. Fundora has been knocked out once before, but he's a different fighter now. Since he won the title, he's gotten better. I always said that, my mentor always said, Teddy, a guy wins the title, he gets 30% better. He got better. And so at the end of the day, it didn't look like anything was really going to change. I got to say this about Fundora. That is a tough division. There are a lot of fights there that could be real good fights, big fights, interesting fights. There is a lot of talent there. Some of the guys moved up from welterweight. There's a lot of talent there. I'm going to give a real special something to Fundora. I remember one time I said about Crawford. I know Crawford is, he's Crawford, one of the great fighters. He can fit into any era. I once said that he has maybe one of the greatest, if not the greatest, instincts of any fight I ever watched. That's a huge statement because you got to remember, I've been around not only 50 years and did Friday night fights for whatever the frick it was, and then PPC and everything else for 25, 27 years for ESPN, calling all the fights. And I did radio for HBO, believe it or not, before that. And we had the fight film, the world's biggest fight film collection up in Catskill with Custom Model Jim Jacobs and Bill Caton. We had the greatest fight film collection in the world. So I've seen all the great fighters back then and today. And I said Crawford was one of the greatest instinctual fighters I've ever seen, that I've ever seen with the kind of instincts he had. And maybe the greatest southpaw I ever watched. And I watched a lot of great southpaws. I'm going to tell you that I haven't seen too many fighters like Fundora. Right now, I don't think I could think of one that can fight and has learned how. He used to give up his height all the time. That's how he got knocked out by Mendoza. He would always give up his height. He has gotten better at fighting tall, fighting long, and still being aggressive. You know how hard that is to do? To be aggressive when you're tall and you're long and still maintain the advantage of being tall and long? Think about what I just said now. Because I know no one out there has pointed this out. Nobody. He fights aggressively. I mean aggressively. That's one of his greatest trademarks, one of his greatest weapons and dimensions. He wears you down. And he was wearing Thurman down. He fights that kind of pressure fight and still maintains length and height without giving it up. That's extraordinary. I was watching him do it. I said, am I really seeing what I think I'm seeing? He's pressing his shorter man, pressing him, and still keeping him at a disadvantage where he can't get into him because he's using his length and height. Wow. I'll say it once more because it deserves two wows. Wow. Wow, wow.
Now, I love that preview, Bud. You nailed it. And you're right. Wow. Sebastian Fundora is so impressive. And 154-pound weight class, as you said, it might be the deepest division, the hottest division in boxing right now. Some of those names you touched on, I love to see Fundora against any of them, right? Whether it's the new champ Kelly, whether it's Xander Zayas, who just unified, whether it's Boots, whether it's Virgil, sign me up. 154 pounds is cooking. And the last thing I'll say, when you talked about what he's doing, he got better at controlling that range. He didn't always used to do that. I think there's another fighter out there he reminds me of, and that's the featherweight champ and a friend of yours, Rafael Espinoza. If he learns how to do that, he has that same fighting spirit and is always fun to watch, just like Fundora.
Yeah, I love Espinoza. He's one of my favorite fighters. He brings it. He brings the fire. He loves to fight. He's got to learn to fight. He's got to do a little more like Fundora's learning, to use that height a little more consistently and to stay out of firefights all the time. He's like a pyromaniac. You know, he likes to start fires. You know, I mean, I love him. Don't get me wrong. But, you don't want to start a fire all the time when you don't have to. He could learn to use his height a little more. But really, Fundora, I got to say it again. Him and his father doing a great job. He's got his sister who's a world champion. They make a real fighting family. But they are doing a great job to just be a fan-friendly fighter who brings the heat, brings the pressure, and still maintains the advantage of being tall and long. God almighty, it's really amazing and really, really impressive.
Yep, absolutely. We covered that one thoroughly. Again, congratulations to the Fundora family. And congratulations to Keith Thurman on a great career. If this is the end, I hope he does retire. There's nothing left to prove. He's 37 years old. And it's sad to see former world champions go out that way. With that being said, but we're going to keep it moving. We're going to move over now and switch gears. And let's go over to the UFC Fight Night. I was in Seattle, Paramount Plus. And the perfect lead-in. You talk about sad to see great former champions getting beat up and that kind of ending. And very close in age, Thurman 37. Well, Israel Adesanya, 36 years of age, took on another middleweight contender, Joe Pyfer. And I was concerned for Izzy coming into this one. I've got to meet Izzy through you in Saudi Arabia, spent some time with him. I'm a huge fan of the fighter. I'm a huge fan of the person. And I was concerned he lost 3 in a row, obviously, coming into this one. Has not won since going back to before that fight versus Sean Strickland. And the style of this fight, a hungry opponent in Pyfer, a guy who could punch, a guy who could bang, and then seeing Adesanya get off of the scales, it looked like a tough weight cut. At 36 years of age, bud, my concerns were, and you've talked about this in the past, when a guy does everything wrong his whole career and gets away with it, what happens when the reflexes slow down? Does Adesanya become Roy Jones, so to speak, in that way? That's what it felt like exactly to me, and it was sad to watch it. Unbelievable heart. A wild second round to finish. Izzy was trying to do what he always tries to do, win. But the young Pyfer, 29 years of old, was too much. Congratulations to him. Just want to hear your thoughts on this second round finish by Pyfer.
It was a great fight. It was a firefight. It really was. He went out on the shield. Izzy, he's a friend of ours. I love him. He's an articulate kid. He's really, he conducts himself as a champion in and out of the cage. Smart. But it was, while it lasted, it was a shootout. He landed a good knee. He landed some really vicious low leg kicks. He landed some really good strikes, especially with the right hand. He got the attention of the physically stronger Pyfer. He had moments. I mean, it was a good fight to the end where Pyfer's physicality took over. His physicality took over. What I didn't like, we know that he's been on a down slope. We know that. But I didn't like the way he looked physically. I'm sorry. I mean, Bud, you touched on it, the tough weight crunch, the tough weight, cut that he had. But it kind of, his age, the weight loss kind of showed when he was in a ring. His head, his face, it didn't look the same. He looked old, he looked bloated, he looked drawn. At the same time, there was a bloatness. There was a softness to his body that didn't used to be there. Again, going back to his face, it just, you could see that he looked old, and he did look affected from the weight cut. Having said all that, he came out, he fought his heart out. He had moments. The stronger Pyfer obviously got it into his wheelhouse. He got in tight. He landed the big shots. He got him on the ground. He grounded and pounded. He got the stoppage. This is a guy that reminded me of for me, the greatest MMA fight I ever watched. UFC, MMA, whatever. Anderson Silva when he was young. To me, he was my favorite. Anderson Silva just did it different. Like a Bruce Lee. I mean, he did it different. He walked in the rain without getting wet. I mean, this guy was, for me, this guy was just, he was that special. And when Izzy came around, he was one of the only guys who invoked that kind of comparison, where he was able to do those kind of things, those Bruce Lee, those different kind of things, where he was on his own plane as a striker. And when it goes, it goes. You made a good comparison parallel. Roy Jones was a guy. Muhammad Ali was, of course, Muhammad Ali. But both of those guys, one of their greatest attributes and traits was that they could do things wrong. Pull back, drop your hands, all that stuff. And they get away with it and make it right because of their special ability to time punches, their special reflexes, their special level of speed, their eyes, all of it. They were able to do that. But then when they get older and those talents get dissipated, with age, and that speed, that timing, those reflexes are diminished, then they pay for not having good technique. Pulling back, you get hit. You pull back from Joe Frazier when you're older, like he did in the 15th round in the fight of the century, and a left hook that usually misses by this much lands by this much. That's what happens. So I think some of that happened, of course, with Izzy, with that great, great talent. His heart is still there. I tell you, Izzy would probably get mad if he hears this, and we have a good friendship. But I'm always going to say what I believe. And I really love this guy, and I just want to see him be okay. He's going to keep fighting. He said it. And you could tell with his temperament, especially after he had moments. He's going to keep fighting. And like he said, and I'm going to take him for his word, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. It kind of reminded me of what is that? The Wolf of Wall Street, where he's supposed to go. Remember that scene? I'm sure Better get it up there.
One of the best scenes ever.
Oh, one of the greatest scenes ever. When he's supposed to go and the FBI's after him and he's supposed to be giving his announcement that he's retiring. And then in the middle of it, he says, I ain't going nowhere. I ain't going nowhere.
Freaking leaving.
I'm not effing going anywhere. I ain't effing going nowhere.
I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving.
And Izzy was kind of like, I ain't going nowhere. And all right, I'm just worried. What does that mean? What does that mean? Without that great, 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 great special that made you one of the greatest middleweights ever, an iconic fighter, champion, without that kind of speed, without that kind of reflexes, without that talent anymore, what does that mean? It means you're going to get hit. You're going to get hit. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. That's the one thing that kills me about this business is seeing these great fighters, and I've seen too many of them, on tape, in person. To watch these great fighters, whether it's Joe Frazier, whether it's Joe Louis, whether it's Muhammad Ali, whether it's Roy Jones, whether it's whoever, Meldrick Taylor. Wow, he was so fast. Oh, God, that guy was so fast. But to see them go on too long, and then to see what happens to them, it's not good to see.
Yeah, it's sad to see. It's hard to watch. But a fighter like Adesanya, he's earned the right to go out on his terms. And we'll see what his decision is. That is 4 losses in a row for him. And if you date back, they're all tough fights, as you always say in the UFC. But, man, how much of those Poton fights take out of him?
Oh, yeah. And Bud, you just said something that's important. I'm glad you said it. He's earned the right to, go out on, his own call, the way he wants to go out. Yeah.
Absolutely. 2-time UFC champion, Hall of Famer for sure.
But what worries me with that is that a lot of these great fighters, part of what made them great was their ego, their belief that they could do anything. And what happens when that goes awry? When that goes awry, where that judgment isn't accurate anymore. And but they still believe it. And they still press on. You sometimes get what I touched on before. You get these fighters that they go too long and they take punishment. I remember watching the great Willie Mays, bud. I wish it never happened, but the Mets, the New York Mets, in my town, I'm a Yankee fan. You're a Yankee fan. You were brought up that way. But New York Mets, the Mets got the great Willie Mays, one of the greatest baseball players of all time. And here he is playing for the Mets. And he's in center field. And he can't catch a fly ball anymore. He can't hit a fastball anymore. It was sad. I remember, because you know why? That's not Willie Mays. That's not Willie Mays. And I just don't want to get to the point where we say, that's not Adesanya, which I think we might be at that point. That's not Adesanya. That's somebody else. That's a shadow. Anyway, I said enough.
No, we covered that one thoroughly. The final thing I'll say is, as sad as I was, on a positive note, congratulations again to Joe Pyfer. This is a man, you talk about battles, you talk about going through it and persevering. He said it after the fight. He said he was going to take his own life just weeks ago in training camp. And he found God. And thank God he did. And congratulations again to him. And if this is the last fight for Israel Adesanya, congratulations to you, Izzy. Unbelievable career. Going to miss watching him. But what a champ, what a fighter.
Yeah, I second that. And as far as Pyfer goes, again, thank God you found the Lord. Thank God you didn't take your life. It makes you think about Tyson Fury. You know, Tyson Fury, I think, is one of the... He's a special fighter. And one of the things that makes him special, besides being heavyweight champ and everything else, one of the things that makes him special is that he got to that dark place that nobody should get to, where he was about to give up the greatest gift there is, the gift of life, that he was thinking about suicide. And he fought back from that. He came back from that. Not only came back from that, went on to win the heavyweight title. So he is a great story, and he's a great example to people. And I think so is Pyfer. I want to put him in that same category in the way that he's a great example and reminder to people that no matter how down you get, no matter how dismal things get in life, you can always come back. It's never too late until you say it's too late. Until, God forbid, you take your life. Then you can't come back. But give life a chance. Always give life a chance. Give God a chance. Give faith a chance. Give life a chance. And as bleak as things were, in a moment, in a day, the light can come back. It happened for Pyfer. It happened for Fury. Please, think of that. Think of that if you ever get in that position.
Beautifully said. Pyfer made life fair tonight. Congratulations to him. We've been going pretty good in thorough recaps here, but just very quickly before we close this down with a preview for Deontay Wilder and Derek Chisora next, just want to touch on Alexis Grasso, the former flyweight champion, brutal KO over Macy Barber round 1. Just want to hear your thought on that real quick.
Yeah, the former champ, the great Grasso, southpaw, from the southpaw position. Barber came in from too far away, throwing a wide shot, loading up, coming in. And Grasso gave a clinic, a brutal clinic, a painful clinic, a sudden clinic, a KO clinic, but a clinic of how to counterpunch when somebody's coming right at you in the front door from a little too far away. Be set on your feet. They're coming, throwing a wide punch, throw a short, compact right hook, pop, and put the left hand with it. Bop, bop. Those short punches get inside. Wide punches, they get there first. You catch the person coming, and you get a knockout. Beautifully done, beautifully executed. I hope we can get that up to show.
Absolutely, we will, our man Bennett. And yeah, if not bad enough getting knocked out, you throw him right into a chokehold after to make sure. Very impressive performance, obviously, by Alexa Grasso. Let's keep it moving. We're going to finish this back switching to boxing. We're done with our recaps. Here comes our preview next week. This is April 4th from the O2 Arena in the UK. We have the former WBC heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder, now 40 years old, taking on the Warhorse, Derek Chisora, 42 years old. I'm worried about this fight, bud. We just touched on it with Izzy. We touched on it with Thurman. Both of these warriors have been in tough fights. They're both 40 and up. I have my concerns. I just want to get your thoughts, your take, and a preview for this fight.
Yeah, they're both equally diminished. Let's get right to it. But one of the greatest fights in the history of the sport, the thrill in Manila. Now, I'm not comparing these guys to Ali and Frazier, but the thrill in Manila, both guys were diminished. Both guys were not what they used to be physically at all. Their timing, their speed, all of that. But there was one thing that endured. There was one thing that was still there, their character, their will, their pride, their championship behavior. That was still there. And that made for one of the greatest fights ever, but one of the most brutal fights. One of the most brutal fights ever. They left pieces of themselves in that hot, sweaty ring in Manila that night. They were never the same people again. And the reason why it was so brutal is because they were diminished. They were equally diminished, but their heart was still there. And so they were easier to hit. They were right in front of each other, dishing out punishment all night long. I think you got a similar scenario. You know, guys are not of that level, but Chisora's been nothing but a warhorse his whole career. They love him. They love him in the UK. If he's still standing, there's no way he doesn't get that fight. His 50th fight, in the UK with them singing songs and everything else they're going to do. The greatest fight fans in the world. And I'm not taking nothing away from the Mexicans, nothing away, from the Irish, nothing away from the Americans, nothing away from nobody. But with the history of this sport, the Marquess of Queensberry, everything else, as far back as it goes, there are no boxing fans more attached to this sport than the English. And they know how to do it. They do it. They sing songs. They do it up. And that atmosphere is going to be bonkers for their man, the guy they love, Chisora. Chisora, the guy's legs are half gone. Wilder's legs are half gone. Chisora he's 2 years older. He's 42, I think. I think Wilder's 40. He has more miles on the odometer. He has taken a lot of punches. But in the last few years, Wilder has taken a lot of punishment, especially in two of those fights with Fury. He left a lot of himself in that ring, in those fights with Fury. Usually, I always say it's a known thing in boxing. George Foreman obviously put a stamp on this, that the last thing to go with a fighter is his power. But I don't know. In the last few fights with Wilder, with all that power in the right hand, it didn't really it hasn't really shown up. But also, his legs aren't the same. He's got plenty of heart, too. Usually, I would go with this, but straight beats round. Chisora never saw a round punch he didn't love. I mean, he loves round punches, hook punches, curve punches, and he just comes forward, one-dimensional, one-way, front door, throwing wide shots. You would think the straight right hand of Wilder could get there early and maybe end the night. You would think that. But with the heart of Chisora, with both guys being diminished, I could see this fight getting sloppy. I could see it getting to where they fall in, they grab, where they do catch each other, where they survive. I can see it doing something that nobody thinks it's going to do. Everyone thinks it's going to be a knockout, one way or the other. I could see it going rounds. I could see it getting into those places where they grab, time gets killed a little bit. I could see where Wilder stands on the outside using his jab and he boxes a little bit in spots. You know, I know there's a chance he lands that big right hand and ends it. I know that. I know there's also a chance that maybe he gets Wilder up against the ropes. And Chisora lands one of those looping right hands. And he ends it. I think that it might get to where, as I said before, two diminished guys, where it gets a little sloppy, where rounds do get to go by, the clock does tick off a little bit, and my prediction, I think, is going to go towards the over.
Well, there you have it. That's a really good breakdown for that fight. Derek Chisora enters this fight as a 2-1 favorite, fighting at home in the UK. And if you want Teddy's full report, the over-under, the props, you name it, the full works. Again, the ropes, TeddyAtlasBoxing.com. Full report will be up. And a final reminder, we are going to live stream that here on YouTube for Wilder vs. Chisora. So if you want to come and get Teddy's in-fight live commentary, fight companion, please come join us next week. That's April 4th, Wilder Chisora. With that being said, bud, I don't even know what time it is. I'm losing track. It's got to be about 2 a.m. for you on the East Coast right now. You're a champion as always. Back-to-back live streams, a podcast, and the Adesanya fight in between. It's a full day's work, bud. Why don't you take us home and get some well-deserved sleep?
Listen, this is what I'm going to say to everyone out there. It's almost 2 in the morning, but I'm going to say this because of what we touched on earlier. We talked about it with Tyson Fury. We talked about it with Pyfer, who just had the biggest win of his UFC career, beating the former champion Adesanya. There are too many young people. I don't care what age you are. It should never happen. But there are way too many beautiful young people that are committing suicides out there. It is. And it's not a subject matter that is a pleasant one that anybody wants to really go to. But it is one where I think that when you have an opportunity to go to it, there's a responsibility to touch on it. And that's where I'm going to close this up. For those young people out there that things go bad, for whatever it is, at home with your parents, girlfriend, boyfriend, drugs get involved, bullying. Oh, bullying is so terrible. I mean, it's so cowardly, but it does so much damage to some people. But whatever it is, if you know somebody or you are somebody that is in a position where you're having those kind of thoughts and you're trying to push them away, please get somebody to talk to. Don't keep it in. Find somebody to talk to. And in the meantime, think about what we talked about earlier. about these fighters. These are some of the bravest, toughest people in the world. And if they can be touched by that, anyone can be touched. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you a coward. It makes you somebody who's vulnerable, somebody who's hurting, somebody who's human. And if you're having, or you know somebody who's having those thoughts, reach out to them. Don't leave them alone. Talk to them. And tell them the story of Pyfer and of Fury. Tell them that this guy who just won the biggest fight of his career, huge fight against the former world champion, 2 weeks before that fight, he was this close to taking his life. But he didn't. He didn't. He put it off long enough for things to change. Long enough, in his case, to find God. Long enough for a brighter day to come. Please give yourself that chance for a brighter day to come. Please, I beg you. Good night, everyone. Thank you guys for being with us.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff, powerful episode. Amazing words at the end. Thank you all for being with us as always. Please like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you guys again next week.